Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour. It's me, your titan of a host, Angelo,
Titan.
with my other fellow cool teens.
My peasants.
That made it so much worse.
You're weird.
I'm Liam.
I'm Shaymin.
And today, we're going to be talking about the new Teen Titans. And, we'd say the new Teen Titans, but they're not exactly new.
Yeah.
This book came out in 1980, right?
Nah, that was like yesterday?
Dude, yeah, that was like 2 days ago.
That's pretty new for comics.
Relatively. I mean,
not really.
Not anymore.
Because of DC started like 40 years before, and it's like half the lifespan.
I mean,
they're actually at this point, it's a pretty even split now, yeah.
Yeah.
The 80s is kind of in the middle of DC's lifespan now.
That being said, it's a good time to add the new subtitle to this.
Yeah.
The whole reason this podcast is like sort of kind of called the new Super Shenanigans Variety Hour is in reference to this book, which I had already read prior to agreeing to do this episode, and I'm a huge fan. I'm just gonna get that bias out the way.
Yeah, it's like me with Hellboy. It's like me with the Hellboy episode. I was incredibly biased going into it.
I'm gonna keep it real. I love this book. So much so, and I'm also lazy that I'm not changing the name of this podcast on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't you start us off, Angie?
Yeah. So today I wanted to kind of break down for both of you guys. I'm sure Liam, you know more about the kind of history of the two creators, but especially for Shaymin, who had never read this book
especially
before.
For this dumbass.
Yeah, especially for this goofy
one guy. He's actually the audience self-insert.
Yeah, the best part about me is I don't know anything about comics, pretty much.
Yeah. You have like most of our discussions back when we really first became
I'm
friends
very
was
fucking
about
baseline.
video games.
I'm very baseline on comics.
And we would just mostly talk about Dr. Doom was one of our top guys to talk about.
He's
Shaymin,
cute
because Doom's just that
He's
cool.
a cutie.
Yeah, that's what I was also thinking.
But for those of you that might not know the creative team behind this book, New Teen Titans was co-created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and co-created, especially, brought up here because the characters of Starfire, Cyborg, and Raven are brand new for this book, right? Like at that point in time, they were created for this team.
Mm-hmm. And one other character I'll save it for a little later, but gets heavily recreated in this run, and also can essentially be credited as creating a character.
Yes, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. But let's start with the man who writes the words, the guy who's kind of putting voices to the characters, Marv Wolfman. And Marv worked for DC in the late 60s, early 70s, mostly as a writer sometimes assistant editor, it seemed, but moved on to several other avenues like Warren Magazines, Creepy Eerie, Vampirella, kind of more horror-based titles, which led him to working at Marvel. And fun fact, Marv Wolfman at Marvel worked on Tomb of Dracula and created Blade. He's the creator of Blade, which is very cool.
That is a fun fact.
That's bragging rights.
Yeah. And once he left Marvel in 1979, literally the year after his big return to DC, with editor Len Wein and, of course, George Perez, they created the book. And shuffling over to George Perez, I mean, first of all, what an artist.
One of the best DC has ever had.
You look at Crisis on Infinite Earths, you look at this series, you look at, his Wonder Woman work, and, of course, I'll bring up his other works here in just a moment, but literally, one of the top examples of a superhero artist, especially at that time. Yeah,
he was just plain one of the best, and his work definitely is integral to the success. And also, again, with co-creation, George Perez definitely also helped in a similar way to like Lee Ditko and stuff like that, where it's like very collaborative.
Yes.
And George Perez had input on stuff like narrative and character.
Yeah.
Outside of just being the artist.
Yeah,
so they built this together.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that makes this book very special. We'll notice that later on. But George Perez was a young, self-taught artist, receiving critiques from other great comic book artists at the time. One of the ones that was mostly listed that I saw was John Romita Sr. And John Romita Sr. being the guy that basically worked on Spider-Man for so many years right after Ditko left. Basically becoming synonymous with the character.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of the Silver Age Spider-Man, you're most likely thinking of that version, the Romita Sr.
Yeah, and just from receiving critiques, working hard, he landed his first gig at Marvel in 1973 as an assistant to one of the other artists, writers at the time, Rich Buckler, who created Deathlock, which Deathlock's honestly kind of a cool character. He's like, a weird undead cyborg man.
I literally don't know who this is.
Dude, Deathlock's so sick. You got it. Editing Liam. Throw up an image of Deathlock.
What the fuck?
After working for Rich Buckler for a little while, Perez started working on other projects at Marvel, like he co-created the Puerto Rican superhero White Tiger. He worked on Fantastic Four. He has a very prominent run with Kurt Busiek on The Avengers, as well as working on Fantastic... Did I already say Fantastic Four? That's okay.
I don't think so.
Well, he worked on Fantastic Four, which is where he met Marv Wolfman, doing Fantastic Four annuals together. And then George Perez also had a really cool run on The Inhumans. And fun fact for you, Shaymin, I know you're a big Taskmaster fan. George Perez co-created Taskmaster as well.
Wow. That's really cool. He's got a good design.
The best.
George Perez has a mighty,
the GOAT
roulette of characters, he created a lot of really awesome ones.
And since he did Crisis, he essentially drew almost every DC character ever up until 1985.
Yeah. George Perez, one of the greats, like I said. And as I mentioned earlier, the New Teen Titans released in November of 1980, written by Wolfman, pencils by Perez. And the book went through a bunch of different versions, which we could talk more about later. But, oh boy.
They changed the name a lot.
They do change the name a lot. From New Teen Titans to Tales of the Teen Titans.
Tales of the New Teen Titans.
Yeah, that's Tales of the New Teen Titans. Yeah, you're right. And then
they forgot they were new. They forgot they were the New Teen Titans.
And then they just became the New Titans.
Because they wanted to get rid of the teen part. They were done.
Yeah, because they're all college students by the time we start this
so just bar out. We'll just say this. If you're familiar with the Teen Titans cartoon, it's 2003 cartoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the DNA of it comes from this run, but a couple things are different. One thing being the characters and their age. Yes. So every character in this book, bar Beast Boy, is
the only one.
Pretty sure in college.
Changeling.
Yeah. Changeling.
It did. Sorry.
He gets really offended by that. He gotta be nice.
He gets really upset.
Use his preferred name.
He keeps that name as far as I can tell the whole run. So I didn't finish the whole thing.
Because
it's a monolith. It's one of those 10-year runs.
It literally ran from
it went from 80 to 87, didn't it? Or 88?
It went from 80 to 88. And Wolfman stayed on doing the New Titans from 88 to 96.
Oh, you're right.
So he had a 16-year run with these characters, which is just as monumental, or honestly might be even a little more than what Claremont wrote for X-Men.
Mm-hmm. At least as far as
a huge chunk of those characters.
At least as far as domination of it. Marv Wolfman was essentially just the Titans guy for almost a decade and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah. I didn't read all of it. I read about 70% of it, I think.
Yeah, no, this book will take us through, satanic sorcery, secret organizations, supervillains, and
aliens,
mythology. Mythology, and the very personal lives of these heroes. So we can just go ahead and kind of start talking about the new Teen Titans and the beginning arc or two.
Okay.
That envelops this monolithic run.
One other piece of setup I want to say is this isn't the first... Like, it says new Teen Titans. This isn't the first Titans lineup. This is the second real Titans lineup, which is a mix of, I'd say, the original lineup and what you would know from the TV show. It's essentially those two lineups mashed together.
Can you tell us the original lineup, please?
So the original lineup was Robin, the original.
Yeah.
It was Wonder Girl, Donna Troy, Wally West, Kid Flash, Roy Harper, Speedy. He was called in this time, and Garth, whatever his last name is Aqualad.
Yeah. So it's like
the plus others eventually.
Yeah, there were a few others like that they bring back in the DC Rebirth.
So Hawk and Dove actually does kind of matter that we say that.
Yeah. Hawk and Dove, Neanderthal. There was like some Neanderthal kid or whatever.
Yeah, Lilith.
And then Lilith,
too. Yeah. And I think retroactively, I think her name is Wasp or something like that. Like
Honeybee.
Honeybee, yeah. Oh yeah, Wasp is the Marvel one.
Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Well, one of the two.
She has retroactively been added into that era, but wasn't actually there.
Yeah, basically your original Teen Titans were just like the hard sidekicks of your mainline Justice League heroes.
Yeah.
Team kind of sucked, I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, like the only worthwhile like early original Teen Titan stuff that I kind of like is like Rebirth Titans when they get that group back together, and then Teen Titans Year One is a really fun book. That's a really fun one.
Oh, I like when they retroactively go back to it a little. They also have now
the World's Finest.
They have the World's Finest stuff, and it retroactively makes the team better. But first off, it's a DC Silver Age book, and DC Silver Age stuff can be a little yoink sometimes, like a little goofy, a little silly, not too character focused, not too plot heavy.
Not much depth in some of those
and
Silver Age DC titles.
And so that it leads to a very flat team of characters. And since they don't have the cool factor of the Justice League, because they're all sidekick losers, it didn't work until Marv Wolfman and George Perez came in 1980 with the first issue of New Teen Titans with a fully revitalized, that's a lie, not fully revitalized, semi-revitalized team. But they kept the killer and cut out the filler.
Yes, this is a very solid lineup, I'd say.
Yeah, very cohesive team. So let's just kind of jump into the story of it with issue. From what I read, there was like issue 0, basically, that introduces Robin experiencing these flashes to the future, like these visions from what we find out to be Raven, kind of going like, oh, there's a new Teen Titans team, like there's something coming, yada, yada, yada. And the real meat and potatoes of it is Raven setting the seeds for Robin to want to put this new team together. There's some big crisis coming. There's some big, well, actually, not crisis. Let's not use that word. But
no. I mean, there is, but that they don't know about.
There is, but they don't know about. Yeah. But there's a threat coming, and Raven tried to contact the Justice League about it, but Zatanna was like, "You're stinky and evil. Get out."
You smell.
You reek of dark magic.
Yeah, literally. Zatanna's like, "You reek of black magic. Away with you." And then she's like,
I was like, "You guys are just okay with this?"
Yeah, right. So
Justice League
Raven's Justice League fumbled. So Raven's like, "Okay, I gotta get Robin to help me put together this new Teen Titans team." So that's where issue 1 really picks up.
This is what happens when Supes isn't part of the Justice League.
Yeah, Superman's not part of the Justice League
This is a weird era of Justice League where this is right before Crisis happens, in which the Justice League as we know it kind of disappears till like the 90s.
Now, what is he doing at this time? Just his own thing?
He's big chillin'.
He's Superman. He's their biggest book besides Batman.
That's fair.
Was Jack Kirby working on any Jimmy Olsen stuff at this time?
I couldn't tell you.
Because I don't think so. Because basically, Jack Kirby being the big co-creator of a lot of Marvel stuff with Stan Lee, jumped ship to DC after some fucky shit between him and Stan, and created like all the Dark Side and Fourth World characters, and was also working on Jimmy Olsen. So maybe Superman was dealing with some like New God stuff at this time. Who knows? There's Google.
But it's okay. He doesn't need to be there because we literally have Robin who recruits the team through various ways. He brings back the old members that we mentioned, Donna Troy as Wonder Girl and Wally West as Kid Flash.
Yeah.
Aqualad says nah.
Yeah, Aqualad and Speedy are just kind of like they just don't.
No, thanks.
Yeah, they just like don't get brought up really at all.
So they eventually explain kind of what Roy's doing instead of this later on. But Aqualad, I think, just straight up says no. He's working for the government.
Oh, okay, that's right.
He's got a job. Fair enough.
Yeah, he's got a government job.
He's sitting pretty with that government gig.
Wally West actually says no. At first, but does end up joining the team eventually through some shenanigans. Some shenanigans that we'll get to. But we also introduce the new classic members that everyone knows about: Starfire, Raven, Cyborg, and Beast Boy, who in this book is referred to as Changeling, but I'm not calling him that.
Yeah, basically,
I'm not calling him Changeling.
You are not going to use his preferred name.
He gives up on that. Eventually, once Marv Wolfman's off, they give up on that.
Once he realizes the name sucks.
Dude, the name Changeling. All right,
should be somebody else.
If you like Changeling, if you like that name, good for you. Good on you. I don't. I think Beast Boy is so much more like entertaining, so much more bombastic of a name.
He does become Beast Man.
Flat.
Does he?
Yeah, but that's not alliterative.
No, it doesn't.
So he's stuck being Beast Boy forever, which also reflects how he's constantly rebooted back into being 16 over and over again.
Beast Bro, dude. It should just be Beast Bro.
He's the only one who's not in college during this, but he's rich. He doesn't go to school.
Yeah, he don't need it.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So once Robin basically Raven directs Robin to where Wonder Girl is. That's where he meets up with Wonder Girl. Kid Flash rushes in after they meet Beast Boy. And it's like, oh, we need to go meet with our other member, which Beast Boy calls a Star Wars reject, Cyborg. I'm like, oh my god.
Cyborg's like not happy.
Yeah, they're not friends yet too. So.
Yeah, no, they're not friends at all. Like they hate each other. Like, and that's the thing to really understand. These characters are they have a little bit of angst to them. They have a little bit of angst, a little bit of like, chips on their shoulders. And they all kind of learn to grow together, which is really neat to see.
All with good reasons too, I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And basically the whole thing now is they have to find Starfire, who is being chased after by her alien pursuers. They bump into the alien pursuers at the UN building. They fight Starfire. Yeah, it's just like, oh man, UN building's under attack. Let's go stop that. Aliens, oh no. And we're basically taken through defeating Starfire's captors and the introduction of, what's his name? Grant Wilson, right?
Oh, that's in the first issue?
Yes. Yeah,
okay,
Grant Wilson finds Starfire, and then his girlfriend...
You're right.
Yeah, and then his girlfriend's like, Grant, what is this? You owe money to the mob, and now you bring home an alien woman. And then he's like...
Grant Wilson sucks.
Dude, he's an awful person. He keeps threatening his fiance. Like, it's evil. He's an evil man.
Dick.
And the Teen Titans show up, are like, girl, don't worry, we got you.
Please,
dude, you're fucked up.
Please stop abusing your wife. We're just gonna kick your ass. Please don't abuse your wife again.
He takes it personally.
He does take it very personally.
He's like, how dare they tell me to stop?
Yeah, but by the end of issue 1, the new team is put together, but there's something foreboding.
Oh, this wasn't the threat that Raven was talking about, so we gotta stay together as a team and prepare.
Yeah.
And this entire time, like, anytime Dick Grayson, Robin, understandably goes, hey, Raven, don't disappear again. Like, I need to know what's going on. Kid Flash is like, oh, you don't talk to her that way. Like, he's so...
No, she needs to be talked to that way. Raven teleports.
Every other panel.
Yeah, teleports away. Almost every scene she is. You know that meme where Batman just keeps leaving in the middle of a conversation? That's what Raven actually is doing all the time.
Imagine every 5 minutes of this podcast, I'm like, I have to go do something.
And then, like, disappear in a puff of smoke in front of everybody. Like, there's no...
There's no good reason to be doing all this. Stay for 5 more minutes and explain!
Yeah, but...
Just tell us what's going on first.
We get the first introduction of Deathstroke in the next issue as well. So you kind of get your, like, heavy hitters immediately in with Deathstroke.
The Terminator.
The Terminator. Which they keep calling the Terminator.
So, fun fact about that, the Terminator movie was not quite out yet.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost out. So, technically, I mean, I don't know, they were kind of in development at the same time, I would think.
Yeah.
With how long it takes to make movies, probably the movie came out, like, was created as an idea first, but, like, no one was paying attention. He was the Terminator. The Terminator movie was obviously bigger than the Teen Titans book.
Yeah.
And so he lost that name.
Yeah, he is no longer Deathstroke the Terminator, but just Deathstroke.
And they would leave out the Deathstroke part. They wouldn't just leave out the Terminator. They would call him the Terminator instead of Deathstroke early on.
A lot, yeah.
That was his name.
Yeah, no, like, that was his moniker, like how some people call Batman, like, the Cape Crusader, or, like, Detective. It's just another name to call him by.
Mm-hmm. Grant is mad.
Grant's real mad that the Titans have barred him from seeing his girlfriend that he tries to abuse.
And so he decides he's gonna go commit crimes and kill them all.
Yeah, so he links up with Hive, who copies Deathstroke's, like, techniques and fighting style, and basically, like, save that as data and then upload it into Grant's brain.
Mm-hmm.
And during this entire time, we get the whole thing from the Teen Titans cartoon from later in the show, where they show how Starfire kissed Robin to learn how to speak the English language. That happens in issue 2, where she smooches him and just keeps smooching him, and then Robin's like, did you have to do that? And she's like, no, but you're cute. And
that's what I wanted to say.
Bad. She's down bad for him.
So a lot of people go like, oh, well, she had to kiss because of that's how she learns the language. No, any skin-to-skin content would have worked. She just was like, dang, Robin's kind of hot.
Yeah.
And that's how I want to do it. Which is real. Dick Grayson's a baddie.
You're right.
He's wearing real short pants in this run. This is the end of the short pants era. This is the last segment of it.
Yeah, he's like 19, 20
Does
years
he end up putting
like,
pants on in this run?
So I'm going to get to that.
Do it?
Eventually. Well, we'll talk about his putting on of pants when he becomes a big boy.
He becomes a big boy. But yeah, so Grant accepts this Hive thing, and the Hive wants the Titans dead because if they're like a superhero team, but they're new and not the Justice League, so we could probably kill them and it won't be that hard.
They're pretty right, actually.
So Grant Wilson, go kill them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes and tries to do that.
And we find out we find out that, whoa, Grant Wilson was Deathstroke's son. Deathstroke is Slade Wilson.
Oh!
And Grant, because his body can't take the Deathstroke cool ninja powers,
just
withers away
on the floor and dies.
Dude, this is so silly to me because, like, first of all, Grant's just the biggest asshole ever and, like, super ignorant. Second of all, Deathstroke's like, you know, can you, like, chill? I think you're gonna die.
Yeah,
the entire fight.
And then he follows him. He follows him.
He dies, and this becomes Deathstroke's motivation for, like, the next 30 issues.
And Titans like trying to fucking save him, and he's like, Titans, this is personal between you and me.
He has to, and
this is your
like,
fault.
I have to honor my son, I have to pick up the contract he left behind, and that becomes his motivation for screwing with the Titans for years.
Yeah,
is this stupid ass fight that Grant killed himself in.
Yeah,
they didn't even do it.
Yeah, Raven, to give Slade a moment with his son, made Grant think that he beat the Titans, just so that way he would relax and talk to his dad.
It's like,
and it's so sad.
It's sad, but on the other hand, it's so funny.
It's really
so
funny.
Ridiculous.
He died from the strain of being too awesome.
I was like, what the fuck is going on right now?
So Shaymin, like, you have probably been more of a fan because you've seen the show, obviously.
Yeah, this is completely fucking
Grant
different.
In the show?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'll have some more questions later when we get to the characters.
Like, but presentation-wise, this is so fucking different than Deathstroke.
It's so much more, like, melodramatic, and Deathstroke's just, like, aggressively cool. Like, he just calls people, like, hey, chill it, lady. You know, like, I'm like,
well, they also don't have the element where he essentially gaslights the Titans. Like, he doesn't do that.
No, I didn't expect him to do that.
He, like, gets Robin paranoid, that does not happen. He's just on business, like, yeah, guys, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
And then stands on that for years.
Yeah, but
I also don't even know why he doesn't immediately kill the Titans too, right afterwards.
So that the book doesn't end on issue 2.
He's like,
I gotta go bury my son.
Fuck are you doing? You want to kill them?
That's the introduction.
That happens a lot.
Deathstroke, the most iconic Titans villain, other than, like, I guess maybe Trigon.
Overall, pretty silly.
Trigon. Yeah, overall a pretty silly introduction. But then issue 3 begins. Surprise! You waited 3 seasons of the show to get to Trigon. Issue 3, we start a Trigon arc.
Finally,
we just jump straight into it.
I was starting to get bored.
So issue 3 starts with Dr. Light and Gizmo, Mammoth, not Jinx, but Mammoth's sister Shimmer, and Simon.
Shout out to Simon.
And if anyone in the audience has ever seen Young Justice, it does go crazy. But if anyone in the audience has seen Young Justice, Simon's a very big character there. So you'll be kind of, and we'll talk about how the Young Justice show was also very heavily influenced by New Teen Titans in areas.
It's really not a Young Justice show.
It's pretty much not a Young Justice show, by the way. But
it's pretty much a Titan show.
Simon is part of this Fearsome 5 team in the original comic. And basically their goal is to fuck up the Teen Titans so hard and then gaslight Raven by controlling the brains of the Titans to then pivot them into Wham! Issue 4 to try and kill the Justice League.
Now this is where it starts getting really funny. I remember as you read this was sending me screenshots of the fight.
Dude, Shaymin. So, what was your opinion of
I had
the
no
Justice
idea what
League?
the fuck was going on.
Well, first off, I just want to even share this lineup because we did mention that. So it's Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Hawkman, and Zatanna.
Yes.
Oh, and sometimes during this time, the Atom.
Yeah, but he's not in. Is he in this issue? He's not in
this issue.
I don't
remember.
Think so.
If he was so fucking minor. I didn't remember. Maybe he was tiny the whole time.
Yeah, he was really small.
Yeah, he was really small. Yeah, George Perez just really tiny.
So the most iconic part of this fight to me is when, and this is for Angelo too, when Robin takes his yellow cape and just covers Green Lantern's arm and goes, "I got you."
Green Lantern. He's like, you're fucking weak to yellow, dude. And then Dad comes behind him and then just
This is before Jeff Johns retconned that from being stupid as hell.
Yeah, it's stupid as shit.
Yeah, but this...
Maybe that's why he had the yellow
cape. I want everyone to realize yellow during this time in Green Lantern's history was just his weakness flat out. If you had a yellow, like... If I took,
yellow anything,
dude, if I took this sheet of Bristol here and smacked him over the head with it, he would like get hurt. Like he'd feel pain.
If I were to give
his
this
shields
to him,
would not protect him. I just gunk.
Punch him in the face.
Just throw that.
That's a little orange, y'all know.
Yeah. Is that not yellow enough for him? I think any yellow mattered. Like, is it
more
yellow?
That yellow Monarch's guy could hit him.
Yeah.
On your blanket there.
Orange is a different color. That matters eventually.
It does matter eventually for Green Lantern.
Yeah, in like
not
30
any fucking
years
time soon. Yeah.
So, yeah, the entire time the Justice League and the Teen Titans fight, it's like the most. It's just like so absurd how effectively the Teen Titans kind of whoop the Justice League's ass.
Dismantle them.
Yeah, Batman shows up, like karate chops Robin in the back of the head.
Yeah,
but then immediately gets like star bolted by Starfire, and you're like, oh, bye, Batman. You know,
before Batman was OP.
Yeah, this was when Batman could actually like lose a fight,
and off did.
Yeah, and basically this entire thing just boils down to the Justice League going like, all right, Raven, what's going on? And then the Teen Titans going, all right, Raven, what's going on?
And then finally, she says what's going on.
Yeah.
And she put together the Teen Titans because the Justice League wouldn't listen to her, like we previously said, about the coming of her father, Trigon. And she manipulated some aspects of the Titans to come together. Like Wally. There's some shenanigans. Hey, Super Shenanigans?
Whoa!
Super Shenanigans?
Please subscribe!
We're gonna
There's
gaslight
some shenanigans in this book. And yeah, we're gonna gaslight you guys. We're gonna make you fall in love with us. Like how Raven made Wally West fall in love with her.
Insane decision. Insane decision.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely nuts.
And the only thing that balances out is the fact that, spoiler alert, Wally isn't very nice in this, just in general, in this book.
Yeah, this entire time, anytime Robin or anyone like kind of comes crazy at Raven, justifiably in some cases, most cases, Wally is always there to defend her. He's always like...
He's on simp mode.
White Knight.
Like, no,
White Knight.
Raven. White Knight. White Knight. White Knight. You know,
he's the
hall.
fastest Knight, dude. Immediately.
Dude, he's the fastest White Knight ever.
Immediately when Robin's like, Raven, can you please stop disappearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do get fed up with her, like, for sure at the end of this.
That's true.
They're like, stop.
Yeah. And then Wally, like, finally has a moment in his character where he's like, oh, wait, I'm being manipulated. And then he, like, stops being a dickhead for, like, a solid issue or two. He has a couple of moments, but he's not as much of a dickhead now.
But it's more understandable that because it's just that he's mad. And to be fair, he's got a good reason to be mad.
Yeah.
She kind of just said, she essentially love potions him. It's not just that, like, he's like a servant. She's like, you love me.
Yeah, like, he's, like, head over heels, like, he's fallen in love. Like, he has emotional attachment to this woman that he just met for the first time. And then to find out she manipulated you, you'd be pissed, too.
But yeah, the Titans whoop their ass. Raven explains, and then...
Trigon.
Trigon shows up.
Yeah, they try to stop some more, like... shenanigans, but you know, Trigon arrives on Earth and he looks beautiful with his orange locks and white silver clothing. Like, if you imagine Trigon from the show, nothing like Trigon in the comic. Like, Shaymin was reading last night, and I was with them, you know, watching the stream. And it's like, oh, this very anticipating build up, you know, the panels, you see bits of Trigon at a time. Raven's like, oh no, the dreaded, the terrible, it's Trigon. And then you flip it, splash page, and Shaymin, what was your...
So first of all, like, I immediately laughed looking at him. He is so over the top as a villain. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he wasn't cool yet looking. Yeah,
he's
almost naked. He's wearing like knee socks.
He's wearing nothing. His like hair looks weird. It's like a weird brown, but he's still got that red skin
and like antlers, like deer antlers, like just like tiny ones.
I mean, the introduction is really funny because Trigon's hyped up to be like
the baddest, the most evil.
When he was 1, he fucking conquered his planet and then destroyed it at 6 for fun. Or his universe or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
like they literally say that he conquers universes and worlds, and he's this great tyrant.
At the age of 30.
Looks like cartoon Satan.
Yeah, he's just kind of cartoon Satan with some antlers.
His powers are like, oh, if he just thinks about it really hard, then he can just instantly disintegrate you from reality.
I mean, fair. That's pretty spooky.
That's spooky. That's
and
that is a I'm not gonna win this fight type situation.
Yeah, and
I don't think Goku could beat him, honestly.
No, Goku wouldn't have a hard time against Trigon.
Maybe Goku could figure it out, but.
Yeah, but at this point in the story, let's kind of just sum up where the characters are, and what roles they kind of fill. So, of course, Robin's the leader, just like in the show, and he's got this kind of cool attitude to him. He's kind of like, he takes charge, he's personable.
He's the professional.
He's the professional. And there's a lot of lines in the book like that where, Cyborg goes like, oh, so now you're like cracking jokes or whatever. And then Robin, in reference to how he's been doing superhero stuff since he was 10, he's like, buddy, I've been cracking jokes since you were jumping hurdles in high school.
Which makes it sound way shorter because no, he was jumping hurdles while he was doing like pre-algebra. I mean, he was cracking jokes when he was doing pre-algebra. Like,
yeah, basically.
Robin's been around in universe longer than like a lot of characters.
Dude, yeah, like a lot of even like superhero characters that might have like mainlined their own book at this point in like DC have not been around as long as Dick Grayson Robin has been around.
Half the actual Justice League.
Like literally half the actual Justice League at this point, like Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and like Hawkman, Zatanna. Well, maybe Hawkman, depending how you view it. But they were in operation probably like half the time Robin was, especially Zatanna at that point.
He might even maybe predate Wonder Woman.
Yeah, depending on what continuity.
Well, no, I mean just in debut order. I think Dick Grayson might have even still come first.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because
wow,
Dick Grayson as Robin was just created in the early 40s. I think 1941.
So Wonder Woman was October 1941.
Let's see.
And Dick Grayson.
Long story short, though, Robin's the professional.
Robin's the professional.
Wonder Girl's the mom friend,
Yeah.
She's like, also a very professional person, but emotionally available to everyone. Starfire is nothing like the show.
Not at all. Okay, Starfire, so I got it. By the way, Robin predates Wonder Woman by a whole year almost.
Wow.
Robin was introduced in 40.
And it's wild how Robin has not been in like nearly as many movies as Batman. He's such a staple character.
Yeah.
Robin's only a year older than Batman as far as like real life time.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the professional, the mom. So we have them. We have. Who did you say next?
I was gonna say Starfire.
Who? Yeah, you're right. Who's nothing like the show.
Who's your hot-tempered, emotional, but like is embracing of her emotions, like warrior princess who was sold into slavery, who's like has a chip on her shoulder, gets pissed off a lot, and like wants to kill every villain they face. And go to the show, and she's so much more. And in the original 2003 show, she does have her moments of being this kind of very serious, angry warrior princess. but overall, general personality type, she's way more bubbly in the shows. And way more, like, trying to be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Not to say that she isn't friendly or bubbly, like, in a lot of moments. She generally still is like that, but she has so much more edge.
I mean,
behind that, to the point where, like, it becomes, like, a problem for everybody else.
Again, she's very forward with her personality. Probably too forward.
We've got Kid Flash, who's a dick.
Kid Flash is, he, you know, like I was saying to Shaymin, he's like, you know, for X-Men comparison, he's your Wolverine archetype, sorta, you could say, if you want a character to butt heads with your leader, but it's the most, like, nothing. Nobody. Yeah, it's like the most nothing thing, because
he never has a good reason.
Yeah, no, like, at least Wolverine as a character is fun to bounce off of with, because he's snarky and he does have the characters that he hangs out with and are friends with, and you can see how personable he is with those characters. Kid Flash doesn't have that.
Kid Flash is friends with almost nobody on this team.
Yeah, he
and it didn't want to be there in the first place. He's super angsty. During this era, he's also literally not able to go as fast as he used to because it physically hurts him and will kill him.
Yeah.
If he can, which is another reason why he's like, I don't want to do it. He really can't as much without it physically hurting.
Yeah, and that's one of the things they really build upon later on as well. You just kind of see the inklings of it here, where he's just really against it, you know?
He does not want to be here. And listen, Wally West is my favorite DC character, probably my favorite comic book character of all time, but not in this book.
Yeah.
In this book, it's commonly stated that Marv Wolfman probably hated Wally West. Like, probably just did not like him and wrote him to be an asshole, because he wasn't this big of an asshole before this book. He was just, like, normal.
Yeah, he was just kind of like a normal, you know, I would say even just, like, generally nicer character in some older stuff.
Every single... sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
No, everything that he ever talks about is about himself.
Yeah, he's always like, what is me?
What is my problem?
This is becomes even bigger dick as the story goes on.
No empathy.
We've got Cyborg, who
such a wonderful character.
Cyborg is probably my favorite character of the run, and through this has probably developed into one of my 5 favorite DC characters just ever. He's so great.
I think Cyborg's a really good character for that choice, by the way.
He's such a real character. Like, he's such a real guy. You know, like, he has so many moments where you just emotionally connect to him. You know, like, he's such... He very much is a regular person tossed into the superhero, like, fray.
And he feels like it.
Yeah.
He's a very, like... So, like all of them, they're very angsty and, like, sometimes, like, very mopey, but I always find his to be the most effective and, like, real feeling, and I think he processes those emotions the most relatably. He has some of the best scenes, I think, in this series, and it's just, like, overall, like... I would say, I said this before you guys started reading, and I wonder if you agree. Is this your favorite interpretation of him? Because for me, this initial interpretation is probably my favorite.
Honestly, the one character that I will say that the show got pretty downright is Cyborg, like almost like 1-to-1. Cyborg just kind of has a little bit more of that early 2000s cartoon character.
He's just a ball.
He's like, a bit more fun.
And also he's bald. Yeah.
I think I need to spend more time with this Cyborg to come to that decision, and I will.
That's fair.
He doesn't say booyah.
He doesn't say booyah.
Worst version.
That's like a point off. Yeah.
Well, almost all of the catchphrases, like Teen Titans Go, is never once said during this era.
It's Titans Together.
Yeah, which technically is better, but like is not nearly as iconic. But it makes more sense, and I think if they did that in the show, it would be the iconic phrase. But they said Teen Titans Go.
Nah, I think Go is so snappy.
Go is snappy, but Titans Together has like that Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, that feels a bit more serious, but
it's more superhero-y, you know, in the regard of like, oh, you know, they're more serious. I do also like Oh God, I just had it. Well,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Anything else on Cyborg?
Going back to the catchphrase thing, like, for example, another thing that's not very similar to the show is obviously the costume designs, but purple and black doesn't become Beast Boy's color scheme until the show's existence and afterwards.
It's like pinkish, right?
Yeah, like his current costume's like a weird
salmon.
What in the show? Or the book? What are you talking about?
The book.
In the book, it's like a white and like salmon or red. Like his costume is white and reddish with his green skin, and it's not a bad look. Don't get me wrong, but there is something more iconic about the purple and black, and then also Raven is a very different character because Raven's
both visually and personality.
Yeah, like 2003 Raven. Your goth. Very mopey to herself, angsty character with a chip on her shoulder, some sort of temper, and she can lash out violently. In this book, she's nothing like that.
She's supposed to be very reminiscent of like a shaman mystic.
Yes, she's an empath. She connects to people emotionally. She tries to heal people. She's much more altruistic in this story, even though she is barred by Trigon from really explaining what's going on. She's a very good person with a lot of misguided and problematic mistakes that she makes, but overall she tries to connect to people.
Yeah, in the book,
and it could sometimes.
Let's get to that a little later. Yeah. But we have Raven. She's a mystic. She's in and out of the plot at all times. Mysterious. Speaks in mostly exposition.
Yep.
And then we're left with we said Beast Boy, but Beast Boy
we didn't talk about his personality.
Yes, his personality I say is similar, but with a lot more
horniness,
80s stuff that isn't as okay now. So he's got a lot more trauma, which we'll get into, and he's got a lot more.
He's horny.
SHE.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send this.
SHE.
I'm gonna send this image right here.
Yeah, editing Liam, whatever image Shaymin.
I would probably can't put it in if it's an example.
Well,
what's red, yellow, and gorgeous all over? And Wonder Woman's like, I'm gonna fucking break your spine, dude. If you keep this shit up, I'm gonna turn you black and blue.
Shut up.
Shut the fuck up.
No, I will say this one thing though.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that Starfire, coming from a planet where like sexuality is a lot less like weird, usually takes to it not like reciprocating, but like accepts it more as a compliment and stuff like that, and is more just like on the same wavelength of like, you're a funny guy.
Yeah. No, she like anytime Beast Boy's like I think there's literally a line where he's like, I wish she would like sit on, or I wish you would sit on me or something or other, and then she's like, oh, Garfield. And it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, pretty much she's like, damn, I'd smash, and she'd be like, damn right you would. That's pretty much all they're interested.
She's like, you know it. You know it's real.
One of my favorite ones, I don't have the screenshot for it, but it's when Cyborg's like, can we like put him in a cage or something?
Yeah.
He mellows out, but it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
I just think through the becoming closer with these characters, it's like he gets a lot less comfortable doing it with his friends.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I guess.
Yeah. Because again, like he just met these guys essentially for the first time.
Yeah. He's like trying to be funny. Yeah. He's still always trying to be funny. It's just that his version of funny is harassment.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say he still sometimes does have bangers, especially when him and Cyborg actually do develop their friendship.
Yeah. When they have that repertoire, yeah.
I think as the series goes along, he turns into one of the best characters, but not in the first 5 to 8 issues.
Dinner's ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all for now.
Yeah.
I'll talk about some more later, but
yeah. So basically, the reason why we bring that up is because from issue 5, we see that altruistic side of Raven that I mentioned, where the Titans try and fight against Trigon, but unfortunately, they get washed. They get creamed.
Also, the Justice League, they say, like, we'll team up, and then something else happens almost immediately, and they go, like, you guys got this, and then just leave.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy can literally destroy planets with his brain.
As he should.
Yeah.
How would they win?
They have no shot. No soups. I don't even think the Justice League could help, honestly. They're fucked.
I mean, I'm sure they could contribute something.
They can do a little bit. They can do more.
I'm sure Zatanna could help.
Zatanna and Raven too, but Raven basically
Yeah.
offers herself, being like, okay, like, I'll just go with you, Trigon, then we could conquer some other place.
Oh, if you're new and you don't know Teen Titans, Trigon's her dad. That's the thing we're talking about with the history and explaining. She's from his Hell Dimension, and he's her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just in case you don't know.
This is pretty common for her as a character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you've seen the
just
show...
Just in case you didn't grow up with the show.
Even if you've seen Teen Titans Go, Trigon shows up in like a cajillion episodes.
He's
like
actually close.
Dad bit.
He's pretty close to Trigon in the show, Teen Titans Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks exactly the same.
Looks exactly the same. Same demeanor and everything. Yeah.
But yeah, Raven decides after he destroys New York, she's like, I'll join you, just like leave everybody alone. And he says,
sweet.
He says, yeah, that's actually a solid deal because
like
you're definitely more significant to me than the Earth. That's a fair deal.
And I'm like, fair enough.
And the next issue goes on about how insanely evil he is. There's one scene that's insane where she gets there, Raven gets there with Trigon, and like a little girl like doesn't bow or something like that on accident, and he just like
the little girl was like,
"That's Trigon.
He's a monster."
Yeah, and then
Trigon's like,
he hits her with the old ray.
He's like,
and
you called her
turns to an old woman. Raven goes and is like, "No, father, please don't be evil,
actually,
my evil dad."
She just decayed. He just decayed her fucking face.
Dude, yeah, and
it wasn't an oldness thing.
I'll take this pain for you, little girl. I'll save you.
And he goes, I don't think so. Brrr, and lasers her into ash, and like an 8-year-old girl.
He's like,
even younger. She's a toddler. She's supposed to be like 3 or 4.
He's like,
and Trigon just goes,
your powers are impressive, but you can't disobey me, so I'm just gonna kill her anyway.
Bro.
You can't disobey me.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Don't even obey him. You'll probably die either way.
Yeah, it's a dark side apocalypse situation over there.
It's pretty good.
Like, so basically, one of the things I want to kind of make note of within this book is this book kind of exemplifies the transition of like a lot of old Silver Age ideas even further into the Bronze Age with the more soap opera type story, but also plenty of like little drops of blood and obviously the child murder and all that. You know, like
it's pretty brutal.
Is this point in comics where things really start getting more brutal and dark. Like a lot of the fights that the Titans have are very life or death. Like against the Fearsome Five, they almost die.
Against
there's an arc later that's like insane. It's the one that you just like recently finished.
It's the one I just finished.
Against the Deathstroke, they almost fucking die too.
Yeah. But basically, the Titans rally their strength with the help of Raven's mom, go to Trigon's dimension. Bunch of hijinks ensue, where they free Raven.
They fight.
They beat Trigon, and there's a whole like philosophically waxing moment for Raven to be like, "Do we have to fight?" And then, and the choice between pacifism and
so that's another element of Raven. Raven was raised in the Temple of Azeroth, which is like a group of incessantly pacifistic monks who literally refuse to to the point where they'll just like literally let anything happen. It's like, guys, they're gonna come here and Trigon's gonna come here and destroy us, and they just go like, so be it. It be how it do. They won't even leave.
To which Cyborg gets really pissed off about. And then Cyborg and Starfire get pissed off about it because both of them are like, "What the fuck?" Like, fight for what you believe in. You know, like if you want peace, you make it happen.
I believe in not fighting.
And it's like, all right. So it becomes this very philosophical debate as well.
To which Raven picks fight for
peace
good
and happiness. Yeah.
Superhero shit.
Yeah, so she learns how to fight for good, and then they beat Trigon.
Woohoo!
Yay!
And like Arella, the mom, gets like lost to like lock him behind or something, right?
Yeah, she falls into the weird portal with him and seals it behind her.
This whole time,
the hell portal.
The team's like getting their shit together. This is the first time they actually like really figure it out. I think there was a fight maybe a little bit beforehand. We're starting there. Dude, basically, Robin had to cook so hard to be able to beat Trigon.
Yeah, Robin was like, we really need... Kid Flash, you do this. And then, like, Cyborg's like, all right, I'll go do this.
Kid Flash, start spinning around in a circle really fast.
Being the guy who's only 1 year older than Batman and predates most of DC canon, he's like, I got this.
Yeah, and Robin helps kind of lead the team. And Raven explains earlier, it's like, our blend of powers can all work together to beat Trigon, and Robin helps take advantage of that as leader, and they all fulfill their roles and defeat Trigon.
Yeah, they shoot. They punch him into a portal with a team attack.
And then he goes, "Oh
no!" They stuff Raven's mom in Cyborg's cannon and then shoots her at Trigon into a portal.
And then Raven's mom
and they win.
Don't worry, I got this.
And he'll never come back, guys. Trust me.
He'll never come back.
He'll never come back.
There's totally not a book that came out recently for Titans where Trigon's on the front cover.
Didn't happen. This plot point never comes up again.
Totally not right before the Absolute Power event. Trigon
this definitely isn't like one of the final bits of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the end of the Trigon arc, which I'll have to say, I enjoy it.
Yeah. It gets epilogued out by issue 7 with the fight against the Fearsome Five who have taken over Titan's Tower.
Oh yeah, the tower. I forgot that happened for a second.
Yeah, and this is the one, I'm not sure if you picked up on it, Shaymin, but I had the first season on DVD as a kid, and there's a very specific episode where I was like, oh, this is just the episode, like almost one-to-one in a way, where the Fearsome Five, Gizmo, Jinx, Mammoth,
they break in.
They break in and take over Titan's Tower.
It is very weird to me. Titan's Tower is like just a building outside of New York that's a giant fucking T, and the Titans are like, "Is this ours?" I think it's ours.
I think the funniest part of it is that it's just in New York.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole book takes place in New York. It's not like Gotham or anything. It's not any DC.
It's not Gotham, Bloodhaven, or Jump City like the show. Or San Francisco they're in sometimes. It's also funny, but for some reason New York is just funnier to me because that's like so basic for comic books.
Yeah. Yeah, Marvel was like, let's just do a little bit of Marvelism.
Wally West, when he becomes the Flash, operates out of New York up until like halfway through his run or something like that, like the first run. He just literally operates out of New York.
Yeah.
Same as Nightwing, I think.
Dude, we got dinner.
Dude, he's got Din.
Dude.
Oh,
Dino Nuggies.
Can I
Dino Nuggies, mashed potatoes, cauliflower. I have no idea what the fuck this is.
Done.
Dinner.
But yeah, they bookend it with that. They invade the tower.
It's a nice kind of bookend too, because it's like, you know, the Fearsome Five gave them such a run for their money, but now after defeating Trigon, they just
light work, no reaction.
Kind of light work, no reaction to the Fearsome Five. Mammoth still gives them some trouble because Mammoth's just fucking busted for whatever reason. He's just big and strong.
His introduction scene was him lifting up an entire fucking building with his hands.
Yeah, that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And then they get a neat little present. Of a sick new clubhouse.
Yeah. By
from Cyborg's dad.
Mm-hmm. So this ends his initial arc. So for people who aren't aware of Cyborg was a high school football player. He looked like he was about to like go to college and go pro. Had a bright future ahead of him. His dad was a scientist.
Both of his parents were.
But for the sake of the arc, it more matters that his dad was, because he has beef with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Cyborg in this iteration gets into it's something like a car crash or something like that. I don't remember if it's a lab accident. I'm pretty sure he gets
this one's
independently. It is?
I saw the lab accident. I genuinely don't know what it is. I think it's like there was some fucking flesh thing that just started attacking Cyborg and kicking the shit out of him.
It was basically like Cyborg's dad and mom. It's kind of stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Cyborg's dad and mom were getting a little frisky in the lab while they were like experimenting extraterrestrial, like dimensional shit. And then a weird like goop monster comes in and kills Cyborg's mom and horrifically maims.
Mutilates him, and then his dad makes him a cyborg without his consent or permission. And he's like, "I'm gonna be a freak forever."
I'm pretty sure the show it's more like
his dad.
What was it? In the show, I think it was just an explosion. They gave him his powers.
In the show, they barely touch upon his origin, to be honest.
Very light.
It's very light. Like, the most you get on it is the, like, episode that happens in, like, season 5, where you see their origin.
It's more...
he's just wearing, like, a hoodie.
It's more about, like, his, relation to being a robot person.
Yes, his... Which, you know, this book very heavily works on as well.
Yeah.
But, he has beef with his dad.
Fair enough.
And finally, in issue 7, you know, because it's been so long, we have to wrap this arc up now. It's funny because this is before they had to future-proof this book, because they didn't know it was going to be this big to this day. They have a heart-to-heart.
Yeah.
He like I forget exactly what was said, but like Cyborg like levels with him and sees why he did it, and was like, "I forgive you, Dad." Oh no, he says he's dying.
Yes.
His dad's dying of
the radiation from the shit is
irradiation.
I'm gonna die.
Like, I got like a month to live, and they bury the hatchet. They spend the last month together. He forgives his dad, and then his dad dies.
Yeah, it's like a month or 2 months. Yeah, you're right, Shaymin.
His dad's like, just be happy.
Please, Victor.
Please be happy.
Victor, just be happy.
Also, here's a sick new clubhouse.
Here's a sick new house. I built it for you and your friends. Bye, Victor.
This was the first one that's like deeply personal.
Yeah. And
picks up from here like that.
Yeah, and it picks up from here and just kind of leads into a lot of what else you know about the Titans. And we'll talk about issue 8 in a second, because that's like a good prologue for what's to come next. You know, it's a new status quo setter where we see Wonder Girl taking photos.
Sounds like we're getting into it now.
She's a
she takes pictures of naked women.
But what I want to get opinion on real quick is you kind of started your opinions, Liam, on your whole feelings on the Trigon arc. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Trigon?
Just as a character, or the arc? The
arc itself, yeah.
The arc is fine. I think it's fine for an introductory arc. Essentially, like, because of the stuff with Hive and Deathstroke is like an issue or 2 and stuff like that. They're not like full-fledged arcs. This is like kind of what everything has been building towards. It works. It's solid. It could be better.
I think so, yeah.
But also, one of the reasons why the arc is so iconic is because it's built on a lot more, both in the future of the series, series in the comic, and the TV show obviously makes that a running plot line throughout the duration of the show.
Yeah.
Which makes it way more iconic than this original interpretation. And I agree, Trigon's a little silly.
He's a little silly design-wise. I think the things he does as a character work. He's threatening. He's a bad guy, you know, like, which you want from your Satan villain to show how evil and truly deplorable he is.
Yeah,
I would say I'm scared, but I'm menaced, if that makes sense.
I'm menaced by him. Yes, I'm like, oh shit, this guy means business. I'm not necessarily scared, but like, did you feel that, Shaymin, having read this for the first time?
So like
semi-menaced.
The scariest part about him is the fact that he's able to just destroy universes, like, easily, instantaneously. The only question I ever have is, like, why doesn't he just do that? A lot of the time.
That's more just a general character question, too. That's not even just specific to this.
Like, I understand a little bit.
we talked about it last night when you were reading Shaymin, but there was like the monster they faced that it's like Raven warns them, be careful, it could kill you with a touch if it's so desired. And then they kept punching it, and then they beat it.
It's okay, we got gloves on.
Like, we got gloves.
Well, Robin, you're not wearing any pants. Oh no.
Like, it's literally like, if it thinks it, you die. Like, these...
Yeah.
Like, you're gassing these people up a little bit too much.
It was for real. Deathstroke was, like, cool.
There's a lot of good.
What were they? The Fearsome Five.
Yeah, the Fearsome Five.
They're fun, but they're not like too bad. This is the first time it's like, all right, we're in for real mode now.
Mm-hmm.
We're in apocalyptic event.
Fearsome Five was a good opener to this kind of arc for them, like immediately going into Trigon, because it was a good tone setter. It's like, okay, the Titans are in danger. Like, this is a big fight.
Mm-hmm. But I think the book goes up after this dramatically in quality.
Mm-hmm. And I think the next set of stuff that we're going to talk about,
this is pretty much where you hop off, right, Shaymin?
Yeah, this is basically where you finished your Shaymin, was issue 8 with the kind of status quo setter.
I'm actually up to 10.
That's unfortunate. Okay, you've been reading it. You've been reading it. I've seen you on the phone. I was wondering if you were looking at notes. Bro, I am reading this book right now.
It's basically notes. You're looking at the comic directly, you know. But yeah.
But yeah, this
Starfire becomes a model.
Mm-hmm.
Robin's doing Robin things. Robin has a whole other book that he's in, so you know. Go be Batman.
I gotta go do my job. See you guys next week. I'm gonna go do the circus.
The important stuff about a lot of these characters. So it establishes Corey Starfire finally being able to establish herself on Earth. She has an apartment with Wonder Girl. She's a model because she's like ridiculously gorgeous. Donna Troy is shown to be. I don't know too much about what Donna Troy was up to before this book, so I don't know if that was already a thing. But it sets up that she's a photographer. She's like a fashion photographer, mostly. She has a fiance, Terry, who's like in his mid-30s and is a college professor. We'll get to that.
What?
It shows Raven going to school, trying to fit in. That plotline gets kind
having
of
a very hard time fitting in. She's like, "You people are all violent and evil." After a guy tries to save her from getting essayed.
Yeah. She stops some like terrorists in a pretty. I'd say it's a cool scene. So she can like astral project only for like a certain amount of time. So it's like a couple minutes.
5 minutes.
And so she has to like astral project while in college to deactivate bombs in time, or else she will lose herself.
Pretty cool. That's a pretty cool scene.
So then she gets over it.
Yeah, this issue 8, she stops terrorists, and then like Wally has a whole thing talking to his parents, trying to figure out his whole thing if he should stay. And Cyborg's doing the thing from that one episode of the show where there was a kid with a prosthetic hand, and it's like, well, you're like me, mister. But instead it gets expanded upon more. It's kind of like Cyborg's whole side gig.
It's his B plot, essentially. This sets up their B plots, I would say.
Like I said, this is
their lives,
establishing your new status quo. You know, like this is where the book will primarily launch us from, like this point forward.
Yeah, this is their personal problems.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing I like a lot about this book.
That's cool.
Is the characters are very personal. On a lot of like big splash pages where they could have just jumped from, oh, we gotta go to Trigon's planet, and then go to them walking onto Trigon's planet. Like, there's some extra panels in there where the characters are reacting and like talking to each other. It's like, Robin, you look worried. What's going on? And then Robin's like, well, here are my concerns. You know, like they get to have that back and forth and feel like people, have emotions, have nerves. You know, like Beast Boy's like, man, I'm shaking. I could churn butter. You know, like
like there's a lot of times
it's really neat
that we see like we kind of get the vibe of these people specifically when they just their self monologues. Beast Boy almost all the time is like, my life is fucking horrible.
And I'll be honest, it is, and it gets worse.
Yeah, it totally is. But
so that's
pretty fun.
Set up in this. His status quo is So you know his Doom Patrol history, right, Shaymin? Before he was in he's
explain
the
it for
only
the
one
viewers.
He's the only one in the new lineup who isn't like a fresh character, essentially.
Yeah.
Beast Boy is already a pre-established character from a different team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had no prior like Teen Titans connection either. Like
he was part of the Doom Patrol, which was kind of like what X-Men was before Claremont.
Yeah, just a team of freaks going out on superhero, sometimes suicide missions, just to kind of like, that's why they were called the Doom Patrol, because every mission could bring them to their doom or whatever.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, it does.
Yeah,
almost all of them die.
What about Beast Boy?
And Beast Boy is one of 3 survivors, technically.
Yeah.
Out of how many?
Yeah. And as far as out of like 8, like 7 or 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's trauma.
No, we weren't lying when Beast Boy enters this with trauma.
He's like messed up from it. Really bad, because he saw it happen. And as far as he knows, there's only one other survivor other than him. He meets one of them during like an earlier section that you got to, Angelo, where he's like, "You're Robot Man! You're alive!"
Yeah.
But yeah, the other surviving was Steve Dayton, who was essentially Mento, who's essentially just Professor X.
He has
he was
like
an even bigger dick.
Yeah, he's just like asshole.
He's like a neglectful rich father.
Yeah,
who doesn't really care, and who also is suffering from the trauma, and so just completely neglects and takes it out on Beast Boy. And so Beast Boy kind of like has like like a castle and all this money, but like no one cares about him anymore. Everyone who cared about him is dead.
Besides the Titans,
so he's dealing with all that angst. Well, but also this is really early on, so he's not like super close with them yet.
Yeah, like that's the next big arc that we kind of go on, is the Doom Patrol Beast Boy arc. Where we get a couple of little mini things between there, like Deathstroke comes back and like has a whole kerfuffle with the Titans, leading to Beast Boy getting shot and like critically injured. Hyperion to fight against the Greek gods with the mythological Titans, Teen Titans versus Titans. Very funny. Thanks, Marv.
Only thing that's interesting about it is that Beast Boy bit.
Yeah, Beast Boy gets better. Beast Boy gets better from getting shot. He feels better.
But it's like actually like I was kind of stressed. I was stressing.
Yeah,
I was like shit. Like they play it for real. They play it real.
Yeah,
they're like oh my god, he just got shot in the face.
Cyborg is torn up by this, and this is where we really start to see the development of their relationship. Because in the previous issue, they got to talk a little bit about like the Robot Man thing, and Cyborg, like, you being my friend made me accept Robot Man back into my life. Like, I appreciate you for that. And Cyborg's like, "Aw, that's sweet."
Yeah, they start becoming.
Beast Boy gets shot.
Yeah, and Cyborg goes on his like "I will die for you" shit.
Yeah,
he's mad about it,
Yeah.
and obviously it's like a huge victory for Deathstroke. It's super dramatic. He essentially is on life support. They have mysticism shit so that they can cure him. They have to deal with this thing. Donna Troy falls in love with Hyperion. The mythical Titans realize that they were assholes back like 5,000 years ago or whatever.
And they're like, we're just gonna make a new home. You guys are chill. Keep Olympus.
They're just like, you guys have Olympus. We're gonna go back, but is it alright if like it's like chill there? And they're like, you know what? Since we're all getting along now, sure, it could just be chill there now. You're not a prisoner.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's not a very enjoyable part.
But the Beast Boy trauma is crazy. And we also kind of skipped over the puppeteer or puppeter.
The puppet arc.
The puppet puppeteer, which we get an episode of that in the show with the Puppet King. Within the actual book, he's like the puppeteer.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is that, like, I don't know. He was like, it was basically a thing of like abducting the different Titans members and, you know, manipulating them to do evil. And it's like Raven and Kid Flash that have to kind of save the day.
Mm-hmm. Kid Flash and that's what miraculously talked back into this team somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Who had a very loving and supporting home life. And his parents talk to him.
Yeah, his parents love him, and then he goes to them for advice and like, well, we love you either way, son, and we're proud of you. This will shortly get retconned into like one of the worst home life out of any Titan.
What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. It's so nice.
His mother becomes like an alcoholic, abusive mom, and his dad is a manhunter from space.
When did this happen? In between this and that?
After Crisis.
After Crisis on Infinite Earths.
So remember how I told you, I've even said in here, that weird Flash run before Mark Waid's Flash?
Mm-hmm.
This is from there. This is the run where he becomes a weird porcupine-like cryptid. And he fights a guy with who has like a Vor superpower, a black hole in his stomach, and he becomes a millionaire through the lottery and then loses it all.
Just like my life, for real.
Dude,
it's weird. It's a great. I think it's Flash mandatory reading, TBH, but
yeah.
But still, yeah. So that happens.
But yeah, like, so the whole Puppet Kane thing, that's what brings Wally back onto the team. That's what helps him decide. And yeah, from there they find Steve Dayton and Robot Man. They fight against or they all regroup, go after Madame Rouge and Commander Zal, who's blowing up a small country
element.
Yeah.
So another piece of the trauma, Shaymin, for Beast Boy is also the Deathstroke thing where he got shot. Yep. Is Deathstroke intentionally recreating the thing that killed the Doom Patrol with the Titans? So it's like the most triggering 20 minutes of his life. He's like intentionally like, all right, so the Teen Titans have to die the same way the Doom Patrol died just to fuck with Beast Boy even more. And then he shoots him and like almost kills him. So
he's so petty.
Yeah, like
pettiness a part of the contract?
If it's necessary to do all that, but it's dramatic.
So the entire Beast Boy arc can kind of be summarized into a quest for revenge on the end of both Robot Man and Beast Boy, kind of giving a big farewell send-off to the Doom Patrol as they go against Madame Rouge and Commander Zal, who are basically like trying to blow up this small like Baltic Sea country and take it over for themselves. The Titans are captured, but Beast Boy teams up with the Brotherhood of Evil, led by the Brain and Museo Mala. You know, and like Plasmus, who's a German like experiment, and he's a plasmoid person. I don't know.
They're evil.
They're the Brotherhood of Evil.
Mm-hmm.
It's their occupation.
Yeah. And there's like a lot of. It's like, so first off, the country is a country of literal just like runaway thieves, which is one weird detail. And there's more than one of these in DC for some reason.
Yeah, there's plenty of these in DC.
What the fuck? I guess the crime rates
in Marvel,
really
you just got
high
Madripoor.
Yeah. There's whatever this one is, and then there's like a Zandia or whatever it is. Or
Zandia is the one that they blow up.
Okay. There's Corto Maltese.
Yes.
Eventually gets retconned into
There's
that.
Fialia, sorta.
Yeah.
But that's like Queen Bee's like weird country.
Mm-hmm. Wherever they were in the JLI, I don't think that was Zandia, was it?
No, I don't know. But yeah,
whatever.
Madame Rouge and Zal try to blow up a country, and it becomes a real serious thing for Beast Boy and Robot Man, whether they kill the people that killed their family. You know, it becomes this big moral dilemma. And for Robot Man, he doesn't really have to do much. Like, Zal kind of causes his own death, making the attempted revenge feel cheap. But Beast Boy's pissed. Beast Boy goes after Madame Rouge and literally like fries her. Like, it's kind of an accident, but
he killed her.
But he killed her. and then he has this whole down spiral moral dilemma of like, oh my god, I killed her, and like that's like the rest of the page where he's like freaking out, like, holy shit, I just killed a person. Like what was the point of that?
Like I said before we read this, I said this. I think I said it to you too, but I said it to Angelo. This run is so deeply traumatic for Beast Boy. So much.
Does he like it?
He just goes through it.
No, Beast Boy hates it. Beast Boy is distraught.
Yeah.
Fair enough. He's 16 years old. And one thing he also mentions is that merely months before he had joined the Doom Patrol is when his parents were murdered.
Yes.
And then he was part of the Doom Patrol, was adopted by Elastigirl and Mento, and then Elastigirl, Negative Man, and the Chief all die.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks Robot Man's dead, but Robot Man turns out to be alive.
Yeah.
So Beast Boy is like deeply, horrifically traumatized and has lost so many people.
And Angela, will you believe me if I tell you it gets worse? It gets worse for Beast Boy after this arc.
Yeah.
How many more Doom Patrol members have to die?
So, you got to the start of where the arc is, so Steve Dayton gets his Mento stuff back.
Yes.
From this. Where Beast Boy as a character goes from here is Steve Dayton kind of starts going crazy from the mind powers.
Mm-hmm.
And starts becoming even more abusive and neglectful, and then goes full supervillain mode, tries to kill the Titans and him, and becomes like a full-fledged supervillain, and he has to go on like a quest to try and find him, and in like almost like the vein of like trying to stop like your alcoholic dad.
Yeah.
From like hurting himself anymore, and it's so sad.
Yeah,
because like, Dad, I just want you to love me, and he's like, I want you dead.
The next issue after this, because Beast Boy's arc like kind of ends at issue 15, roughly, with the whole Doom Patrol killing Madame Rouge thing.
Mm-hmm.
It ends with a kind of happy ending where he, Robot Man, and Steve all go on a vacation together. So in the next issue, Beast Boy's gone. So it's like, oh, like the family was brought back together through this trial and tribulation, but it gets torn apart again, and that's so sad.
Steve Dayton goes insane, becomes like a major Titans villain for the next like 10 issues or so, and like he's literally like, I hate you, son, I want to torture you and kill you.
Yeah.
And Beast Boy's just like, I just want you to love me. He gets better. He fixes it.
Yeah. But, I know that. But
it's
guys,
like messed up.
So up to this point is where I read, because as much as I've had knowledge of Teen Titans in the past and have read some other different runs of Teen Titans, I had never read this run before this recording. So this is up to where I read issue 16, roughly 17-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So before we, I guess, get into even more further stuff,
what do you guys think?
I kind of want to cover how I felt about reading up to this point. And it was, I agree with you, Liam, from after Trigon, like this entire section was like, okay, now I understand why this run's so revered. Like this really kicks it up a notch immediately after Trigon, and that just goes to prove how much this dream team of Marv Wolfman and George Perez really brought to the table with these characters. Both like emotionally and visually, because not even talking about the story at all. Like now let's talk about the art a little bit, dude. This guy draws so many fucking people in a panel, it makes my hands cramp up. Like the amount of tiny people with more tiny people and tinier people behind them, I'm like, oh my god,
the world feels very fucking full because of it.
Yeah, he has very full backgrounds, and he's pretty up there with Jack Kirby in terms of like weird fucking sci-fi space technology and just like shit that is so not randomly put together, but like so weird and comic booky. Yeah, it's so surreal in the way it's like structured, but it works, kind of like Jack Kirby's spacecrafts and vehicles. And yeah, I mean, George Perez is kind of like that superhero style of the early 80s, like you think superheroes, you think either him or like Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Pretty much.
For DC at this time, you know?
Mm-hmm. And they both had a somewhat similar, like, in-house style at this moment, too. So,
yeah.
Like, the look of this era is well-defined.
Yes, and this is one of the reasons why 80s DC is such a revered era, because it's just such a iconic and visually, like, I'd say like late 70s and early 80s was like a really strong time for DC. You know, you had a lot of
I would go as far to say the whole decade, because remember with 85 we have Crisis,
right.
And then for the next 5 years we have the beginning of the post-Crisis continuity. We also have like Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns. So I'd say the 80s is like their most powerful decade.
Yeah, like late 70s you could see the ramp up, but then like the 80s they popped off for sure.
The 80s DC is probably, I think, the best age a comic book company has ever had ever. I think.
Yeah. And I think their work and product from the 80s has probably aged some of the best in terms of just like being able to go back and enjoy those stories, especially if you do want like an older superhero vantage point to just kind of like work your way through. Not to say that Marvel wasn't doing anything in the 80s, but DC just had so many fucking bangers like back to back, you know.
But most people aren't talking about 80s Marvel in specific.
Yeah.
But 80s DC, everyone's like, that was the motherfucking peak of DC, probably.
Peak C.
And it's so good. It's really good. Like, I just really enjoy this run. Like, this entire time, we've just been talking about how good it is.
You haven't hit my favorite character moment, too. My favorite character arc. But I'll get to that in 1 second.
Yeah.
Shaymin, what do you think of the run?
So, I'm a bit earlier in, obviously. Just getting out of, like, that introduction stuff, pretty much. Solid. Really solid so far. I like how all the characters are defined. And, yeah, I'm gonna definitely be reading more of it. I think it's very easy to read, too, for comics.
Yeah.
Except for one part.
It's a very, like, kind of...
I will say the beginning part was completely baffling and confusing, but it's on purpose, so...
Well, I more mean just Marv Wolfman has a habit of talking in the narration for a very long time.
I skip dialogue.
Yeah, so... as kind of, like, closing advice on at least, like, the first 16 issues that I read before we get more into just what happens later on in the run, Marv Wolfman, great dialogue, really kind of funny and snappy characters. That motherfucker writes a novel, though. He's a yapper. You thought Brian Michael Bendis was a yapper? This guy's a yapper, too.
It's not even close.
Like Marv Wolfman has a cajillion caption boxes that just describe what's going on in the panel already. It's a little bit of the Stan Lee syndrome.
When he's with George Perez, you don't have to narrate it all.
But
there was literally a scene...
He's got it.
Yeah, there was literally a scene where there were, like, these... basically like fire-breathing like imps or dragons or whatever that like Trigon summons, and George Perez draws them, you know, shooting fire and blowing up cars and stuff. And the captain's like, and as Trigon sends forth his hordes of, you know, yada yada yada, they spew fire upon the citizens below. And it's like, yeah, bro, I see that.
It's like bro's just talking about the action lines in the script. He's like, they accidentally put all the action lines in the actual final.
Yeah, they put the panel description as caption boxes from the script. Marv probably read. He's like, wait a minute, this was just for George. wait,
what's going on here?
There's so much words.
But other than that, it's a great read.
Yeah.
Just to give. Oh, you can go.
Sorry, and once again, you know, like, I always recommend supporting your local comic book shop, but if that's not viable for you, you know, always try to find the best ways that you can to support an industry that you enjoy.
It's understandable. This book is from the 80s. You might not find it in the store, but it's online. You can get it on DC or Comixology or whatever.
Yeah, and it's definitely a run worthwhile reading. Like, if you guys like the cartoon, even slightly, you know, like grew up with it or still go back and watch it to this day, this book's a really fun read and a really solid read for someone who's now an adult and decided to go back and read that source material, it kind of hits different in a way, you know, like a lot of pieces get connected, and I'm like, oh, that's really neat, that's cool, you know.
So
yeah,
I have one final thing to ask that I think is very interesting. What do you guys, we talked about the art design, what do you think of the character designs? Because of one thing that did not carry over for a lot of these characters is their initial designs, and I was wondering what you guys thought about that. So like obviously, you know, Dick Grayson does not stay Robin forever, and the people who do become Robin kind of after Jason Todd start changing the outfit up. Kid Flash, you know, gets changed up. Beast Boy, as we said before, gets a redone color scheme. Raven gets like whitewashed.
Yeah, she gets heavy whitewashed.
Starfire's
I don't think you got it.
Changes all the time.
Yeah,
Cyborg doesn't even look a little bit the same.
Shaymin hasn't gotten to it yet, but there's a very clear scene where Raven's in college and she's wearing very like traditional, like kind of like George Perez based Raven off of a like Indian like Bollywood actress. And think about and
after
she wears very after this run they kind of just go whatever.
She's emo goth girl.
She's emo with gray skin. And it's like, oh boy.
That's because emos were trendy.
That is true. And, you know, like,
yes.
Not coming crazy at the 2003 design. I think that still is a great design on its own merits, but you know,
I think
the representation was there, and they kind of just like shoved it aside.
Same as Jinx. Jinx isn't in this section, but Jinx is not white. Gray
She's
skin
aggressively not white.
In the comic.
Yeah, in the comic, Jinx is not gray-skinned with pink hair. She is like a brown-skinned woman. Like,
but I think that some of these character designs I like vastly prefer. Like, I prefer the original Raven design. I think I don't prefer her original personality, but I prefer her original design. Starfire, I think most of her outfits up until Rebirth sucked after they got rid of this one.
Yeah.
This design is kind of like my preferred Starfire design. Not gonna lie,
her hair is so good. I think it's just
kind of like, what was that?
Her hair is so fucking good.
Shaymin? Yes.
Yeah.
This is the only time where like the fire aspect makes sense.
Yeah.
When they talk about her, because her hair literally does look like fire,
and she's fucking angry.
And when she flies, it literally like burns behind. Like her hair leaves a trail behind her. Like it's such a cool visual.
The only design that I think is updated and I think is definitely better is I think some later Cyborg designs are a little better, but I do like the element of the original Cyborg design where it's a lot more evenly balanced between man and machine. He still is very clearly a dude under there still. Where like I'd say like especially once like I'd say the 2003 show is guilty of it. He is barely dude in it. New 52 goes even further. It isn't until really recently where
with
like
the Dawn of DC
or Dawn of DC where they're like, we're gonna make him actually more evenly balanced, which I prefer as a character choice. So
I think that's much better for sure.
So I glaze most of the original designs. The only thing is the Kid Flash costume is dorky on Wally. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
I think it takes some modern art. Well, one thing that's really funny, and what I'm going to talk about next, is where we go from here and the arc that you haven't gotten to yet. And since you intend on reading it, I imagine you guys intend on keeping going.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I won't go super into detail, but Robin, has a fantastic moment of character development, just like a general couple arcs that are fantastic. Dick Grayson was created in the 40s, but Dick Grayson, as we know him, was created in this book. IMO.
A lot of like modern like, because I know what exactly you're referencing, in multiple regards, and a lot of like personality wise, and a lot of post Batman Dick Grayson, like post like leaving Batman's side as a sidekick, like stems from this entire arc, like this entire run, this entire book.
Where Dick Grayson becomes a character and not a sidekick comes from this, and most of the personality traits that people actually like him for are from this, where he's like a little bit like more of, he's a very professional, cool, level-headed guy, but he's still able to joke and wisecrack and stuff like that. He's still very snarky. He gets mad a lot of the time.
He does get really mad. I mean, you even see it early. Yeah, when he like turns his head to like tell Batman that he's leaving to go start, or when he goes to start the new Teen Titans, and Bruce is like, "Where you going, Dick?" Dick's like, "To what you like to know, old man. Fuck you," and then he like leaves. That's basically how he acts.
The scene where he fucking roasts Batman and the team.
Yeah, I'd say this is actually the most amicable version of that breakup, though.
Yeah,
this is the most mutual version of the breakup.
Yeah, it just wasn't working. Like, he's an adult.
Yeah, exactly. Like he literally just lays it down. Like, hey, we're fucking grown. Like we can handle shit.
I'm 20 now.
I'm 20. Like
probably 21 by the time this scene happens. But there is an arc that is essentially we push Dick Grayson to the limit.
Yeah.
It's probably the most engaging arc in the entire book. It's where he's following, he's Batman style, trying to solve a mystery with, I think it's the DA, Adrian Chase. And they're like Batman Commissioner Gordoning style, going through New York, trying to uncover, a mystery. And it's super angsty, and he's having Starfire and Robin do get together in this book, but it becomes heavily strained because of Starfire's willingness to kill, and they can't really communicate that properly. The team's sort of falling apart during this arc. They're all really mad at each other. And so all this is building up, and this is the start of where he's, finally doesn't want to be Robin anymore. There's a scene where, I think it's one of my favorite examples of this, is when he's interviewing a mobster in a restaurant. And he's a full-grown man in his 20s in this Robin suit. And someone was like, "Boy Wonder, huh?" They're like, "Dude, you're..." No.
Boy Wonder? And then
it's like, "Boy Wonder? You're a man." In tight little pants.
Yeah, he's got little shorts
and
on.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Adrian Chase in the comics.
Yeah.
But this is his origin story into the character Vigilante. From the Peacemaker show. But after watching the Peacemaker show, I did not expect him to be one of the most engaging characters in comics I've ever read.
yeah, because in the show, he's
nerdy guy.
He's such a cornball nerd character.
He's such a cornball nerd James Gunn character, but then in the comics, it's so different. Even Alan Moore had a little stint on Adrian Chase Vigilante too.
I think I'm going to say this right now. I think Adrian Chase is a better version of what the Punisher is IMO.
Yeah.
I think he's
that's a very good way to describe it.
He's a way better version of the Punisher who grapples with the morality of what he does a lot more and goes through phases of in and out of the identity, and it starts here, and the arc is him slowly getting fed up with the system. He's I'm in charge, and I can't catch any bad guys, and the only way I can do this is with the help of Robin, a fucking vigilante. And so he goes through a lot of shit throughout the book.
Yeah.
Robin goes through a lot of shit.
Appears over his head. Adrian Chase is vigilante? Wait a minute.
And eventually, the mystery gets solved. The team gets back together. It's a very tense arc, just for the whole team too. This is peak Beast Boy angst. I think at this point, Wally leaves the team again. I don't think for the last time, but he does soon.
Yeah.
Beast Boy's going through it. Cyborg's going through it. Starfire's going through it. Raven's going. I think Raven's gone actually.
Yeah, there's a point where she leaves, right?
Raven leaves this book for half the run. Sometimes.
Yeah.
She leaves for a long time.
Raven has a constant issue of popping in and out of this book.
Donna Troy has problems with Terry and their marriage and stuff like that. It's a really tense arc. And then even further in the future, we finally get it. And I didn't know this going in. But the Nightwing change happens in this run.
Yes.
There is a point where he gives up being Robin in this book and dons the Nightwing suit for the first time and is this is who I am now. I'm no longer Robin. I'm in that dorky disco ass costume.
See,
I can't wait till we
there's
see it.
some designs, and I actually wanted to bring this up when we talked about some of the other character designs, because I love original Cyborg. I love this Beast Boy, Starfire, Raven costumes, but some George Perez designs, especially from DC around this time,
Our little 70s and 80s.
are little 70s and 80s as fuck, and only George Perez can draw them well.
I think the
there's some
second
designs.
Nightwing costume that's more of the ilk of this is good, but the first one is a little bit.
The one with the rat tail?
Yeah, where he has like the gilded chest.
Yeah.
I actually do think it kind of goes hard.
I do like that one, yeah. That one's pretty hard.
And I wouldn't be.
But
mad
original
if it got brought
Disco
back,
Wayne,
but original
little
Disco
rough.
Wayne's a little rough. It's kind of but it's
It
still such a
hasn't aged
satisfying
well.
moment.
Does
It's
he ever
still so
dance?
great, and that's
What
why
was that,
like.
Shaymin?
Does he ever go disco in it?
No, but it's a
No,
big disco collar, though.
I do
He's got
see the
Iron
collar.
Fist
It's
collar.
a disco outfit. And it's such a satisfying moment, and this is tied actually to the so Shaymin, you don't know what the Judas contract is, right? Which is funny because it's in the show.
It is in the show. It's not to the same. I mean, it's relatively to the same extent, but like,
I need to watch the show.
But we might save that for a future episode.
I think we do want to save it for a future episode because Judas Contract is one of the biggest like kind of storylines in DC in general as well.
It's the biggest Titan story ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's got some fan favorite characters. I think it's what introduces Jericho. Who,
Yes.
when I said then there's more later. When Wally West gets swapped out for Jericho, I think finally it is a perfect Titans lineup. I think swapping Wally for Jericho is like we're perfect now.
Yeah, because you kind of get a better balance of personalities.
Because Wally doesn't want to be there. Retroactively,
Yeah.
now that the Titans team is back like this and Wally is like in a way better spot just as a character like in writing, I love him. He's my favorite character. I'll never say no to him in a team, and he belongs with they're all like close friends of his. But in this book, he's such a dick, and I hate him. And they swap him out for Jericho, who's essentially what if Raven was a good character. I guess I'm going to get into that bit right now too. There's a couple elements that I will review a little negatively about this run. I don't like Raven at all.
Ravens, yeah, I think now it's time to kind of head into some final opinions. And yeah, I agree. Raven's not fun.
Raven sucks.
She's kind of lame. And I do like having her be this very, empath, pacifist kind of character, but it's like it's a little much. Like it's a little too. So
her whole deal.
Yeah, go for it.
She is a very, I guess what they're kind of going for is codependency, or like, she is an empath and she loves to take in the pain of others, but doesn't know how to let people in and heal her. But the problem that makes it so annoying is if she continues to do that, she turns evil.
Yeah.
And so she knows she shouldn't do that. And she sees the Titans around her all working on themselves. And she just refuses to work. And that's the reason I will say, out of the characterization differences, I think this is the one time I think the show absolutely nails the change, where it's like Raven works on herself. And while she's like iffy on letting people in, they're her friends and she's willing to work on herself and tries to be a better person. When in the book, she's just like, eh.
Yeah, I think the show does a good job because I think I kind of made the click connection now, but they kind of combine, weirdly enough, some aspects of like Wally's role with Raven for the show, and then some aspects of Donna's role with Starfire for the show. And you kind of get this like kind of blend of characters in a way, but Raven kind of becomes now that character that tends to not butt heads with the group, but cause some issues, Like there's issues.
You're muted.
Dude. Holy crap. You lagged.
Huh?
You lagged hard.
Yeah, I know, I saw.
You just started talking.
Anyway.
And nothing came out.
So, Raven is the character that causes issues within the show, either from her powers lashing out or her own personal issues with the team. So that's what I meant by her kind of being that combined her and Wally role.
Yeah,
for the show.
I hate her. I hate her in the book. Just as a final character rundown of which ones I like. Dick Grayson, I think peak, and this put me on a big Dick Grayson kick that I'm still on. I said this earlier, you guys know, but I read the entirety of Tom Taylor's Nightwing in a day. Just this past week, because I just really, this made me dive into Dick Grayson history and like Nightwing.
Are you telling me that you're dick-pilled?
I'm dick-pilled.
Dick-pilled hard.
Cyborg.
Hard dick-pilled. That's the title of this episode. Hard dick-pilled.
Cyborg. This run turned him into like one of my favorite characters. I think no one has written Cyborg as good as Marv Wolfman and George Perez.
That's true.
I think Beast Boy is so wonderfully developed in this and matures so much, and is the one who most noticeably changes throughout. Starfire convinced me that this character is not lame.
Yeah,
I'm not a very Starfire fan. Prior to this, like the show characterization, where she's just too nice and bubbly. When this one, like, it explores a lot of cultural differences between Earth and Tamaran, and how that causes conflict in her life, and her trying to choose which way is really right. And I do like the cultural development of Tamaran in this, where a lot of people don't like the sexualization of Starfire. I actually like while compared to Earth and all of those characters are very closed off, Tamaran is a very free, open society who just, like, whether it's sexuality, emotionality, they just let people know how they feel. And I don't think in the context of this book, it's fetishy in any way. I think it's very, like, called for.
I think later on in Starfire's lifespan, it gets extremely fetishy.
I think later writers will then turn it way more fetishy than it was.
One of the books that I first picked up, like, ever in terms of graphic novels was New 52, Red Hood and the Outlaws. And in that book, she is just a sex object for Jason Todd and Roy Harper to fight over.
I think in this book, she's
and share between them,
sexy and sexualized, but in a very feminist, powerful way.
Yeah, she feels empowering.
And that ties into her backstory of, like, being a slave throughout her life. Is she really comes into her own and owns herself?
Yeah,
in this run. Jericho's great. Wally West sucks, and Donna Troy in this run convinced me that Wonder Woman characters cannot suck, and that I really just don't like Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, but Donna Troy I loved her in this book.
Yeah, I think the issue with Diana Prince as a character is that she just doesn't have, like, anything really concrete
personal going on.
Like, there's nothing, there's nothing keeping her grounded, And every writer has such a different, vastly different take on the character of Diana Prince. But for Donna Troy, you just have a lot of great, just very solid and
her characterization is consistent.
It's
just her backstory that fluctuates.
Yes, her characterization stays the same, for sure.
I think this is a fantastic team. And again, I never watched the show, so this is how I got into the Teen Titans. So, like, coming from a fresh perspective, not even just from a nostalgia from the show perspective, I love this book. Yeah. I think it's fantastic, and the only reason I stopped reading it is because of Marv Wolfman has that shit going for 16 years, and George Perez leaves, and eventually he runs out of shit to do.
Yeah.
And so once he gave up, I gave up, but I think it's great. It's a must-read if you love these characters. I think to this day, a lot of the characters, as they are written in this, have still not been topped.
That's very fair. I think Cyborg and Beast Boy are two characters that really struggle.
I think Starfire too.
Starfire for sure. Yeah, I think those three specifically. I think Raven gets better. But Wally then kind of plateaus as a character. Of course, Donna and Wally and Dick all get their own crazy development into their lives as adults. There's a reason now why so many people love Wally West, like you, because of his development into becoming the mainstay Flash for so many years. Yeah.
Even currently.
And even currently.
Kind of back. Really, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of things, Barry was only really back for like a 10-year chunk.
Yeah.
And then Wally came back, and Barry is still kind of gone right now.
Yeah.
Unless something happened in like the newest issue of Flash that I didn't read.
Barry only shows up as like kind of cameo appearances. Like I was reading Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern, and Barry just kind of shows up to like give Hal some advice and then pieces out.
But yeah, just read this run. It's perfect. But it's great.
It's really solid. There are some things that feel old or dated about it. You know, of course, we mentioned Beast Boy's constant SHing of
his
female characters.
Every single woman.
Every single woman he meets, he's like, "Whoa, you're hot. Whoa, and when you step on me, Wonder Woman," and Wonder Woman's like, "Ugh."
But you can look forward to the definitive character arcs of almost all of these individuals. Like, the only one who can't really have most of their arc tied to this run is Wally. Everyone else here, or at least a lot of their iconic stories come from here.
So here's a question.
Sure.
I mean, Wally as a character obviously doesn't mesh well in the team. Is that like... Well, I guess it's just because it's like different than Wally normally. That's the real issue with it.
Wally is like...
It's just not his...
a bit of a dick on accident and like a little inconsiderate, but he's not like... In this book, it goes very out of the way to make him always start shit with people and be very bigoted all the time. And to never be friendly with anybody and just never wants to be there. Obviously, and they run with it a little bit when he becomes the Flash, and then he grows in Mark Waid's run and becomes like, you know, the character that really everyone loves now.
Yeah.
So he works really well with these characters now.
Yeah.
Like, if you read the current Titans run, he meshes with them perfectly, but that's because at this time he's really not in the mood for friends.
Yeah, he feels like he should like not be here. But that's an interesting thing, I think. There's some lesson to learn there. Maybe if
it was played a little bit better.
If it just wasn't executed as him just being a dick to everybody all the time, and they do throw in elements of literal
depression,
like, bigotism. In the book, like, he's like, there's the famous quote, "Well, you're a bleeding heart liberal, and I'm like a Midwest conservative. Why can't you respect my beliefs?" But what he means by Wally is like slightly racist, slightly homophobic.
There's a panel I saw. Yeah, there's a panel I saw out of context where like Cyborg's like, yeah, you know, like you guys can go ahead to like that restaurant, wherever the hell like Dick and Wally are going to. Like, I got another thing I gotta go to, and then Wally says some offhanded comment like, "Yeah, sounds good. Your kind wouldn't be invited anyway," or something or other. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, like
that's intense.
They make him like such a bad person.
He's a really bad person in this run. Like, he's like, and you know, like, we laugh, but sincerely, like, that is how he's portrayed in this run.
That's character assassination.
Yeah, it's like near. It's like near character
because
assassination.
Of the Silver Age came before this, and before this, everyone was kind of like a Golden Boy type character. So I'm not like super. And to be fair, again, they build off of this, and he becomes a lot more of a just general good person. Like, he loses, not even to say he becomes like, you know, like, oh well, I'm leftist, so that means he should be a leftist. He becomes a politically neutral character. Who is a lot more just accepting of people from every background, is a lot more understanding. He's a lot less. I think the best development he has is just like not being so judgmental and rude to everybody around him.
Yeah, he assumes the worst in everybody.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels like in this run from what we've read.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, so we could move into our book club.
Book club.
Who wants to go first?
I can do it.
Okay.
All right.
Book club.
So, in between like my constant hell of work and school, I'm doing my real life, my real job, and that's fighting for democracy in Helldivers. It's gooning in Helldivers, yeah.
Whoa!
What does that word mean?
Helldivers.
What does that word mean?
Gooning.
I can't answer that.
Yeah, we can't go into it on this podcast. We'll do an entire separate episode on the concept of gooning.
Episode.
The
Stay
gooning
tuned.
and skill maxing episode.
But yeah, so obviously Helldivers, everybody's fucking playing it. It's kind of become like the next big thing. I talked about it a bit. I don't think
this is out. It won't be.
No, it won't be. Actually, it might be. I don't know. I think it might have some lasting power.
This has got almost 2 weeks.
I think
to the day.
Yeah,
this is definitely within the time where trends start to die. So
yeah,
this is a period in time where it might just end. But that's how a lot of games are. I don't think it will.
We'll see.
I think they're supporting it pretty well, and I think they're developing some other shit.
Comments.
Alright, anyway.
Tell us in the comments below
easily,
if Helldivers 2 is still relevant when this releases.
Easily the most fun multiplayer game I've had in a while. Because a lot of multiplayer games kind of feel like annoying to play. Like you're always fucking relying on other people and stuff like that. Helldivers, you're all working together and it's impossible. The challenge is fighting all of the bugs and all of the robots. So the
it's just like
sorry, I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I know obviously about the first game, which I think was a fucking turn-based game, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was a top-down.
It was a top-down.
It was a top-down shooter, like 2.5
okay.
or not. It was like isometric almost. It was like all still 3D.
Who cares?
and
Know
stuff.
about it.
Yeah, this is a completely different fucking experience.
The only one here that has played Helldivers 1 is me.
You're actually the biggest Helldivers fan. Angelo hasn't played
I'm the
Helldivers
oldest
2.
Helldivers fan on this podcast.
Yeah,
well,
I'm a real one.
Either way, I think the game itself has a lot of cool unlocks for weapons and stuff like that. Basically, there are 3 main ones. There's primary, secondary, and grenades. And most of the primaries are tailored either to, like, fighting bugs, which means they're better at, like, crowd control and doing small bits of damage, or fighting robots, which means they're more targeted towards, like, armor penetration and stuff like that. So
that's neat.
You get a cool.
I rock with that.
There's some weapons that definitely feel worse than others, and there's some weapons that are absolutely disgusting. I just unlocked one gun, which is in the war bond system. I don't. Basically, it's like general. I don't want to say battle pass progression system, but it's close enough. You pick and choose what you want.
You got the battle pass?
The difference between that and otherwise is that, like, it's pretty affordable to get. If you just play it long enough, it's fine. And, like, if you spend $20, you can get, like, 3 of them pretty fucking easily.
Yeah.
So, hey,
okay.
It's a $40 game. I'm not that mad about extra monetization.
It's not evil about its extra monetization.
It pretends to be evil because its entire presentation's all about capitalism.
yeah, it's all a big spoof on capitalism.
Nuh-uh.
So it's
you're right. Yeah,
it's pretty funny that the capitalist game, which should be worsely monetized, is pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not as badly monetized as like other recent games that I know you and I have talked about, Shaymin, like Street Fighter 6 with the Ninja Turtle skins.
We talked about this last episode.
Yeah,
I know.
Then afterwards,
I still hate it. I'm so mad.
A tertiary weapon, which usually comes down to a support stratagem. Stratagems, you hold control, then afterwards you do a Street Fighter combo, little rhythm game thing, and then you send out a beacon, and they launch down a weapon. And usually they're better. They're made more for, like, the big enemies, like the giant fucking AT-ATs. Will you get mad at me if I say that? Instead of AT-AT walkers.
Yep, you're gonna die.
Yeah. All of the Star Wars fans are gonna flood the comments right now. Stab Shaymin.
Leave a comment on how you pronounce that word.
Is it AT-AT or AT-AT?
Please let us know.
Is it Hydro City or hydrosity.
We'll talk about that some other time.
We will?
We will? No way!
But yeah, I mean, it's fun. I think, also, you're all able to call down, like, things like orbital bombardments, nuclear missiles, crazy broken fucking jetpacks and shit like that. They have a lot of weapon variety. Yeah, awesome. Dude. You can just summon the Hell Bomb. That one's more of an objective thing.
That's
the H-Bomb.
Sweet.
The H-Bomb, dude.
It's literally the H-Bomb.
Yeah.
It's literally the hydrogen bomb. The Hell Bomb.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I love the difficulty progression system, where you're kind of able to do whatever you want, just go play through an operation, and then you're able to unlock the next tier. And I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to play tiers past a certain point. That being said, I'm more than happy to bring my level 5 friends along to my suicide missions. As you should.
Yes. Join Shaymin on their missions today.
Yeah. Leave a comment with your gamer tag down below, and we'll play Helldivers 2 with you.
All I gotta say is my 2 builds right now are... I have an explosive shotgun, which I'm able to empty a clip into like the highest level enemies in the game and kill them. So it's kind of broken.
Nice.
And I have a pyro build where I carpet bomb the entire area with fire and 380 orbital bombardments. Very fun game. Give it a try. It's cheap. That's it.
Liam?
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna go with over the weekend I watched 2 movies. I watched Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 12.
Oh man.
Because I haven't watched those before.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be honest, Ocean's 11 is really good. I love it. The cast is great. George Clooney is obviously fantastic.
Yeah.
It's super stylish, very like late 90s, early 2000s. Especially in its editing choices. It's got a lot of funny, like, gaudy transitions and stuff like that, but that's okay. We love cinema for how it comes to us. We love it how it is.
Yeah.
And then the second one was, like, ridiculous.
Ridiculous good or ridiculous bad?
Both at the same time. Like,
yes!
So, like, it takes all of the corny elements from the first one and dials it to 11. So the first one's still, like, taking itself somewhat seriously, but it's, like, quirky, it's funny, but it's more, like, dry. When in this one, it's a lot more just, like, like, type shit.
How do I break into this computer system?
Dude, Matt Damon looks really stupid. He just accidentally called that mob boss's daughter a whore. Like... it's got like a lot more like corny, goofy interactions, but like it's very fun. The plot makes actually no sense.
That's
like
awesome.
the plan in both of them kind of don't make sense, but I can see where they're coming from with the first one. But in the second one, the plan, both of them involves characters getting like publicly arrested. But in the first movie, it's so first off they can flex on the villain because that's part of the point. And it is in the second one, but you didn't have to do it in that way. They're trying to beat the villain of the first one because if he stole Danny Ocean, George Clooney's wife. Yeah. And so they're robbing from him publicly to embarrass him. And so that's why they do that. But in the second one, the plan, the plot of that one is a different thief is like, hey, we're gonna compete.
Yeah. To
grab this, to steal this thing. And if you don't do it by this deadline, I won't pay off your debt to the first movie's villain, and he'll kill you.
Wow.
And so they go through this elaborate scheme of like half the crew getting arrested trying to steal it, and then them bringing George Clooney's wife. He won her back. Don't worry. Who's played by Julia Roberts, to have her pretend to really be Julia Roberts. So that they can try and subtly steal it when they're in the museum for a press thing. And Bruce Willis is there, like real life Bruce Willis.
Wow.
Who's friends with Julia Roberts, and they have to pretend to actually be Julia Roberts to Bruce Willis. But then they get caught and arrested. But it turns out they actually stole the thing they were trying to steal like the day before they accepted the challenge because they just asked the dude's mentor first, which made me go like, well, why did you have to like publicly get arrested? It's like to throw him off our trail. Well, you could have just like said yes to the deal, had stolen it the day before, said yes to the deal, and then just come back the next day, not explain yourself, and leave and blow his mind. And it would have worked just as good. You didn't have to publicly do that.
Yeah.
So it's like okay, but it's corny and it's fun, so whatever. And I also went shopping for a particular product. Shaymin, I want you to see this.
Ooh. No, you're addicted. You're addicted. You're addicted. That's fucked up. Why? Why? Is this one peak? Is this a great game?
Not peak, but most of the issues of the first game is its linearity and its level design, its monotony, the fact that the combat doesn't open up until like chapter 11 out of 13, and that the story is told in a weird order in media res. And all of that is addressed in this game, and I'm willing to try a version of this game where they don't have those issues holding them back, especially the combat, because Final Fantasy XIII's combat, once you get to the point where you're allowed to use 3 party members, is probably my favorite battle system in the series, not even kidding.
I really hope we do another book club, and you show that off again, and you're like, guys,
I don't think it's hate it, but I'm willing to see.
It feels like absolute torture playing this game. Honestly, every time I play, my skin starts to melt a little bit.
Yeah, it starts coming off. It was like really cheap, and I found it when I went looking for it. And I'm like,
also, it lags a lot.
Monkey's paw scenario, like you find the game, you're finally able to play it, but it slowly kills you over time.
But I'm willing to try it. It's because I think 13 has, when functioning properly, the best combat system the series has ever seen. This game actually lets you do that from the beginning. The story is told a lot more sensically. It's still out there from what I can tell, and like very abstracted and weird, but it's like linearly told.
Nice.
The level design is improved greatly from what I've heard, and is not just hallway simulator, so I'm willing to give it a shot, because that's all my issues with the first one.
I hope you become a 13 fan.
That'll be crazy, and after I play this one, I'll finally play Lightning Returns.
Wow.
Finally. Which is a joke that me and Shaymin have had for like 4 years.
Yes, it is.
Finally.
It's a very funny thing to me, that game releasing, and I'm pretty sure everybody hated it on release too, right? 13?
I believe 13, so. I believe it wasn't very critically
and then they made
acclaimed.
3 more.
None of them were.
They made 3 more afterwards.
So that depends on how you count.
Bold decision.
They made 13.2, they made Lightning Returns, which is 13.3, and then 15 was developed as another sequel. But pivoted, and Type 0 was supposed to be
they were still cooking with 13.
A spin-off.
That's funny. That's really funny.
They were going so hard with 13. 13 could have been something.
What happened? Did somebody get axed?
What happened is no one liked 13.
Oh, really?
So they just moved on.
And so they just said 15 is a different game now.
It is so funny how long it took them for this. Isn't this like fucking 10 years, basically? Pretty close.
When did FF... We'll start counting from there. FF12, when did that drop? That dropped in 2006. And then 15 came out in 2015, I think.
Yeah, so
roughly 10 years.
Roughly 10 years of 13 brewing, yeah.
If we're counting just from when 13 released, that came out in 2009. So more like 6 years.
Yeah.
6 years from when the public noticed.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to see a more competently made version of the concept. I think the concept wasn't flawed, it was the execution.
Let's see if the public was wrong. And the critics.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. And it still doesn't get rave reviews, but people are like, hey, it's like a significant upgrade and is worth playing as its own game.
Yeah.
We are begging you for analytics, please.
Comment below. Tell us how
really
much you love Final Fantasy 13.
Dude,
or hate it.
Or hate it.
Or hate
it.
Or you're neutral on it.
Or if you want to find a conversation.
Talk about how ugly I am in the comments, please.
But they are not nearly as deep as I am in this fucking series, so we'd have to do it for one game.
Yeah.
I
don't want to play 13 again. I played it for literally 2 hours.
The first level.
I didn't play the first level. I didn't get past that.
What do you got, Angelo?
I
did nothing.
I've been rewatching the Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh, because I was about to do that.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes comes out May 2024. Currently, we're recording in April of 2024.
This will be out May.
This episode will be out in May of 2024.
Get hype for Apes, y'all.
Apes.
Unless
I still
the
need to
movie's
watch
mid.
War for the Planet of the Apes, but the first two are so confusingly titled. Because the first one with James Franco, this is like, I'm just gonna call it like the Caesar trilogy, just to make it easy. This is the movies with Caesar. And the first one with James Franco is called Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and the second one's called Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And it's really hard trying to describe those movies to people.
Don't, because I'm about to watch them.
Alright, well...
Just say if they're good.
I really like them. CGI is great, story structure really solid. Human characters I actually kind of care for in like one of these types of movies, because, you know, you get like... This is such a wild comparison, but like, for example... Like the Transformers movies, you have really bad human characters that are annoying and have nothing going on for them. In the Apes movies, get Shia LaBeouf off my screen. Get him off the screen.
I think Shia LaBeouf works really well as a villain, though. You know?
Yeah. Villain Shia LaBeouf.
They should give him more like serial killer roles.
I think so. I think that'd fit. Shia LaBeouf is the Joker.
Finally.
There you go. Finally, that's what we needed.
It has to be superheroes. It has to be superheroes.
Yeah. For the Batman universe, get Barry Keoghan out of there. Just put in Shia LaBeouf.
Why not just have 2 Jokers or 3? Let's just have 3.
Yeah, 3, just like the comics.
We should bring back Heath Ledger too. He did really good.
Or the Gotham show, kind of.
Sort of.
There's like Jeremiah and Jerome.
Yeah, fuck that shit. But yeah, if you have not watched the Planet of the Apes movies, they're really good. They're super solid. I haven't watched War for the Planet of the Apes yet. That's the third one before the fourth one, Kingdom, comes out. But from what I saw from the first two, I really liked it.
Wait.
I'm a big sucker for monkeys.
Are you telling me that they won the war? By the sounds of it, they made a kingdom afterwards, right? Yeah. They must have won.
Yeah. They must have won that war. Yeah, the next movie's title got spoiled for me.
Is it just politics? I hope it's just Dune.
Me too. I hope Kingdom's just Dune.
It's just
Timothy Chalamet plays the main monkey.
Yeah.
Release on all ape ib.
That's so cringe.
The Lisa all monkey.
All right. Anyway,
that's the end of the podcast.
Apes, it was really good. So yeah, that's the end of our book club. Book club. Book club. Book club.
We should commission that.
You didn't fucking clap, Shaymin.
Yeah, come on.
It's too late now. The moment's passed.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for watching today's episode of the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour. We talked a lot about Teen Titans. It was a lot of fun. We'll probably eventually do a part 2 covering Judas Contract, some of the later stories. And yeah, our next episode's going to be a real fun one, a real doozy, led by our very own Shaymin. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Next episode will actually just be traumatic. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, it's gonna be
the by far our most traumatizing episode.
Don't watch that episode.
For me.
Yeah.
yeah. Liam's suffering for this next episode, so tune in next time. Ignore what I previously just said. Tune in. Make sure you show up.
And you know mixed signals. If you subscribe,
if you enjoy Liam suffering, leave a like. Have a good one, y'all.
Yeah, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.